Morbius was directed by Daniel Espinosa, stars Jared Leto as Dr. Michael Morbius, a man with a debilitating medical problem that's killing him a little bit at a time, something that he's determined to change. He decides to test fate, though, by creating a dangerous cure by extracting vampire bat stuff and mixing that with his own blood. This concoction ultimately turns him into a vampiric monster. His brilliance keeps the monster at bay for the most part, but when his best friend gets his grubby paws on the same cure, Morbius has to face the monster that he's created in himself to stop another. Don't hate me, okay? Don't hate me. I know that this film's getting called dumpster fire left and right, and I expected that myself until I saw it, and then I liked it. I mean, I really liked it. I got into it, and there's a few reasons for that. From what I can see, people dislike this film for a few reasons that I just can't connect with. First of all, it was delayed like 20 times, of course. People were just not having it, no matter how good or bad it was. It also apparently changed things that were in the trailers to something else. I can't speak to that because I don't really remember the trailers that much, and I mostly saw this pretty darn blindly, which you should probably do too. Betters the experience overall. Third, I really like vampire stories, especially when they change things up a notch, and a Marvel vampire story, now that sounds really cool. Fourth, I don't really know that much about Morbius other than it's another Sony supervillain film on a character that has battled Spider-Man for the most part. Sony's really into making those. And again, I didn't read the comics, so I don't know anything about the source material. I really did go into this movie pretty much blind, and because of that, I had a pretty great time with it overall. I'm not usually a big fan of Jared Leto. I haven't exactly seen him in a million different things, but the things that I have seen from him, I haven't really cared that much about. But I actually really liked this Dr. Morbius character, and I connected with him as a whole. I thought that he performed that character battling with an inner demon rather well. The story itself was unoriginal though, since it mostly seemed to be borrowing from the Hulk. You know, you got this serum that changes this main scientist character into a monster. You have this woman character that talks him down. You have another monster that takes the same basic formula, and because they aren't a brilliant scientist, they can't control the beast inside, so they become the main villain. Past that, at one point, Morbius says, "I'm getting hungry. You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry." And where have we heard that before?
Non mi deixo com fome. Quê? Não bom quando eu come. Wait. Oh, that's not right.
So yeah, the storyline here is basically the Hulk, but with vampires. But the Hulk wasn't exactly a bad story. In both scenarios, they are both very clear, straightforward storylines with a lot of action that I thought was pretty darn engaging as a whole. The visuals, likewise, I thought that they were strong. The cinematography worked pretty well. It goes a little bit too hard on the CGI fight towards the end at times, but that didn't really take away from my interest. Matt Smith, I've always loved in pretty much anything, even in not so great movies, he shines. And that's one thing that I've seen people say, that even though they hate this movie, they love Matt Smith in the film, who just chews up his lines, and I agree. Again, I expected to hate the movie, because it was universally crapped on. But you know another comic book movie that was crapped on universally? Daredevil, 2003. And I have always enjoyed that film as well. So sue me. And I feel pretty similar with both Daredevil and Morbius. Both dark films, both characters basically that use echolocation as part of their abilities. Both films have a lot of action that is akin to something that you would see more so in the early 2000s than in 2022, but I love that about the movie. It feels a bit nostalgic to me in a way. I expected an incoherent mess of a film with horrible visuals and bad acting based off of what everybody was talking about with it. But it's solid. Is it a masterpiece? No. Is it Marvel's next big thing? Not at all. Is it a solid comic book film with characters that you can have fun watching in general? Yeah! Stop thinking about the trailers. Stop thinking about how much it was pushed back. Stop expecting things based off of the source material. Stop it! On its own, it's a good time in my opinion. It has some issues whenever it comes down to trying to connect with the multiverse, but that's for another talk show, and it doesn't actually affect this movie at all specifically. It might affect Sequels, though, looking at my final score for a second, you will notice my unbiased score is mostly average, but still decent at 76% because it does have good visuals and, in my opinion, some good cinematography, some good performances. The plot is a bit basic and unoriginal, so that's why this score isn't any higher, but 76% is still pretty good in my books. My bias score is a little bit higher because, in general, I had a good time with the movie. I actually didn't want to pause it or look away, which goes into my engaging score. My rewatchability factor score is also high. Overall, yeah, good time. 82%, meaning that when we combine the two scores together, we wind up with a final rating of 79%. 79 out of 100 possible stars for Morbius, or a letter grade of B on my letter grading scale. So I know that this is a hot take, but hopefully you can kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say that this was a pleasant surprise in my book. But what about you guys? Did you see Morbius? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out!